Good morning, it's Kane again. If I'm being a bit quiet this video, it's because I'm recording late at night and I can't be too loud, so that's why. But basically, the patch notes for version 3.1.0 of Splatoon 3 just dropped. So I'm going to go over that kind of quickly in a shorthand video. Just freeform, just thoughts out the gate, opinions on that, and we'll talk about things and see how they go. I'm going to play this in the background. I'm going to set this to full screen because it makes it better for the viewing experience. I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit more. That's probably good. Yeah. So I'll cover most of it, not literally everything, because I don't want this to be too long of a video, because again, it is kind of late right now. But going into the changes immediately, Splattershot Nova got a movement buff while firing, 10% faster straight speed. That's pretty nice, especially with the range that it has. It'll paint its feet more, which is a good quality of life. It's still very poor at killing things, but it's not meant to kill things cleanly. It's harder to kill now. It's cool, could be cooler later down the line if it gets a kit with Burst Bomb and another special, potentially. But, you know, neat buff. This patch focuses a lot on main weapon buffs. Luna got the radius of the explosion area that deals 70, which is the max it does on the AoE, increased by 50%. Basically making it more consistent at doing bigger damage values, and this is kind of nice in the case of especially Fizz on Luna, because it lets it combo more easily off of the Fizzy AoE, so that's really nice. Big Sway got another damage buff, or not really damage buff, damage range buff rather. Adjusted the damage fall off rate based on vertical swing distance, making the amount fall off more gradually than before. Due to this change of distance for 100 plus, the one-shot lethal hitbox can be dealt is extended by 15%, and the distance for 50 plus damage can be dealt is extended by about 50%. Basically, the big swing vertical is less stinky. It does higher amounts of damage and closer, or I guess further ranges than before. That's, you know, last patch gave us a damage buff to the horizontal to do a minimum of 35 instead of 30, which is pretty nice, and now this makes the vertical a lot more threatening. So, you know, now you can do like horizontal and any opponent tries to swim out of your range, and you can do the vertical as a follow-up, and it should be able to kill more effectively than before, so that's pretty nice. Sniper got a damage buff, the maximum charge. Its damage value before was 60, now it's 68. I'm not really sure why they picked this number and not 70, because I think 70 is a nicer number. But sure, basically damage buff means better object damage, and it'll combo off of, you know, certain hitboxes like machine AoE, all that, which it couldn't before with 60 damage, so that's nice, I guess. Again, I don't think it's too relevant until we get a second Sniper kit, because the current kit is very lackluster, but we'll see in the future. Contrary to the word lackluster, Slosher actually received one of the best buffs this patch, I feel. Basically, the way that Slosher works is that if you're at a higher elevation than your opponent and you shoot down, there's what's called fall off. You know, damage reduction shooters have this property, most weapons in this game have this property. Basically, they made it so the minimum damage Slosher will deal even with fall off is 50. So this is big, because Slosher, if it had the height advantage on someone, would often become inconsistent at killing, because it would go from, you know, 70 damage value, 50 damage value down dramatically very, very quickly. So this is actually great for Zipcaster Bucket, because it lets it consistently two-shot, provided that you're actually hitting your shots and aiming, so that's really good. That's a strong buff. I like this one a ton. And it's something, you know, people have been saying they wanted for a very long time, like literal years, so this is fantastic. This is excellent. Mini got the Nautilus kind of buff, or basically the MQ from Splatoon 2 is a bit built into this one, where each, you know, charge you get has more bullets. So, you know, it's a nice quality of life. Good stuff to have, for sure. No doubt about that. Dab will shorten the amount of time it takes for the player to move act after a dodge roll by a couple of frames, basically. So less committal rolls. Tiny quality of life. Nice to have, can't complain. Dually has a similar one, but note the difference here. With Dapple, it's the act after a dodge roll, but for Dually, shorten the amount of time it takes to move by increasing the dodge roll movement speed. So, you know, this is a nice quality of life. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see any play with this until Emperor drops later, and we'll get into why. Spoilers, crab, thumbnail. And the last main weapon buff is Reflux, and, you know, Angle of Diffusion's like some fancy term. Basically, it just means that it's easier to line up all of the 3 hitboxes of Reflux together, so, you know, it should be more consistent at aiming at a particular area. As for whether that applies to low charge or full charge, I don't know. We'll see tomorrow, or I guess technically today, because it is late right now on the 30th. But it's a decent quality of life. And they made the movement speed 10% faster. It is a lightweight weapon already, so you know, it's nice, it curves well. Can't complain. Makes the main weapon less dinky. Going into sub-weapons, we have two adjustments. Angle Shooter, a buff, roughly double the radius of the ink splatter that occurs when hits terrain, basically paints better. Double of a very small amount is still very little, but, you know, quality of life. Might trap people a little bit better, I guess. Could paint its feet a little bit better, I suppose. Minor thing, not really much to say about this. Burst Bomb, this is something there's a lot to talk about, though. This is, like, one of the significant nerfs this patch. Last patch added 10 frames of white ink to Burst Bomb, meaning there's a cooldown when you throw before you start recovering ink. What they did this patch is they actually increased the amount it takes to throw, so instead of 40% by default, it's 45. And that's big because you go from 80% to 90% if you throw both Burst Bombs in one ink tank. That's a difficult sentence to say. So this actually affects a lot of weapons, particularly Stamper comes to mind, because I'm thinking the math off the top of my head, because I 5-starred Stamper recently. If you ran no ink efficiency before this patch, through 2 Burst Bombs, you would get 2 shots on the vertical in the same ink tank. Post-patch that might only be 1, so that's actually kind of crazy. In general, it seems like they want cooldowns on Burst Bomb. I don't know. This one's weird because I feel like the weapons that aren't Splash are going to suffer more from this. Like, I think this is going to be a rougher hand for something like Stamper or Carbon, per se. But we'll see what comes of that. Burst Bomb has been really spammable and like the best sub in the game for a while in 3, so I'm not surprised that this is happening. I'm just surprised it happens now when the cooldown was last patch, but I mean, overall, I think it should be a good change, because, you know, even if Splash is the #1 weapon in the game, like it is, and like it might still be potentially, wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this hurts Carbon and Stamper more, but we'll see as, you know, time goes by. Next we have specials, pretty much mostly buffs across the board. Ink Pack, very minor thing. Increase radius of outer perimeter and vacuum ink by 10% to cover a larger area than before, so it should be more consistent. I still think it's kind of a gimmick special and very weak outside of specific circumstances, so overall I don't think it changes its viability, it just does a better job at the one thing it's supposed to do, so. Technically cool, my opinion is still very, very low, but that's not what this is about. It's still a buff, technically. Can't argue that. Tactical to increase the initial setup speed when throwing the cooler by 33% to enable it to be set up farther than before. So basically the throw goes further and the animation is faster. And that's really nice. And what I really like is this quality of life, where it says roughly double the horizontal radius of the area where players can drink a beverage. You don't have to like hug the cooler to get a drink now. From a horizontal perspective, not a vertical, so, you know, ledges and stuff will be the same, but you don't have to like quite literally like, you know, bump shoulders with the cooler to pick up a drink. So this is really nice. I like this, and, you know, faster throw speed, so even if you throw it at your feet as like try or whatever, you can pick up the drink sooner and more easily. So really good quality of life on this. Doesn't fundamentally change any, you know, major part of it, but I think it's just nice. This is good. I like this change. Reef Slider Sour Spot did 60 damage before, now it's 70 minimum, which is quite a lot of combos with a lot of things in this game. You know, Fizzy Bombs, Machine AoE, all of that. Kind of like how I talked before, how, you know, Sniper Rider will combo with more things. This is like a more notable damage increase they get in long range against Sour Spot, and increase the radius by 70%, so the hitbox is even bigger now. And they increase the radius of the ink splatter. So it should be better at, like, you know, emergency capping and zone. You'll probably die after the fact, but, you know, it's an option. It's nice. Especially since Reef Slider's invincible as it goes in, all that stuff. So this is really nice quality of life for Reef Slider, while maintaining the same kind of game plan. Inkjet, this is a really nice buff. Increase the radius of the explosion that deals 50 by 43. Basically the way Inkjet works is, you know, you one shot on the direct, and then there's the 50 damage hitbox and the 30 damage hitbox. They made the 50 damage hitbox much bigger, and this is huge because basically it means you'll be like 2 and like 3 shotting people a lot more consistently, as opposed to pre-patch where you might be like 4 shotting with all the 30 hitboxes per side. So that's really good, and I'm really curious. I need to see how the actual patch for this one. But when you press B and jump with Jetpack, it enables you to jump higher than before. It depends how much, but this might actually open up the doors a lot for Inkjet in terms of the spots you can pop it on a stage. By making it easier to access certain areas. I think one that comes to mind is easily Undertow on the side. In my last video, the Jetpack video, if you want to go back and watch that, I think a lot of it's still, you know, relevant, and I'm pretty happy with how the video came out. I talked about how Inkjet is kind of like clunky on some maps. It doesn't feel like it's designed for them. This might help with that a lot. by just giving it more mobility options. This is really nice. Ancient's still weird. I don't think its distribution is great, but I could actually see something like seeing usage on, you know, some Rainmaker maps and Rapid and maybe some TC map. So this is cool. I like this a lot. This is a lot more notable than simply, you know, the damage you deal against Crab, which is still there from last patch. I'm gonna get into Crab as well. Stamp received a couple of buffs, surprisingly, honestly. I didn't think they'd bother. Increase the radius of the area where a player can be damaged from the shockwave of continuous stamp. Basically, the weak, the sour spot that does like 40 damage, I believe, is a decent bit bigger, which is nice. So it should be more consistent at killing if you're doing that, which is good. We love consistency, especially with like high-risk specials. Like, it's really important for those interactions to go better. And they improve the turning performance when doing continuous, so if you're holding the button down. You don't really do that at high level, generally speaking, so I don't think that's like a huge deal, but I'm curious how much you can turn, because it might still be nice even if you do like 2 or 3 stamps. If you turn more significantly, that's cool. And they also added a quality of life where the stamp is translucent on the user screen, so it's easier to kind of see what through it. Sort of like how it could be difficult with 10 Umbrella. It should be easier to see when you're holding the button with stamp. Again, you don't really tend to do that a lot of the time, but, you know, quality of life is quality of life. So that's a lot of buffs to specials. Now we're going to talk about the nerfs real quick. Kind of crazy. I'm looking at the recording. I'm recording for 11 minutes. It feels like I haven't been talking for that long, but there's a lot to cover in this patch, just straight up. Crab Tank, they have a nerf where introducing individual players can't attack for about a third of a second, a very long time, after returning to attack mode from mobile mode. Mobile mode, I'm assuming, is referring to, you know, rolling, so you can't do the thing where it's like, you know, someone shooting at me, I ball, and then immediately pop out and like 90 them, or, you know, start shooting immediately. That's really big. That's like an actual like cooldown / like startup to it, and they also have an actual cooldown for, you know, increasing the amount of time it takes for players to act after special ends. And this is something I've been complaining about for like 6 months. If you've been at like any of my streams, even a single one, it's more likely than not you've heard me say, damn, this special needs end lag, and they actually gave it some. So I'm really happy for that. These are really good. And when you combine this with the burst bomb nerf, Splash feels a lot more fair. I feel like I still think it'll be a top tier after this patch, honestly, at an initial glance. But it'll feel a lot less egregious, and I think that's the end goal here. And Kraken Royale, they gave it some nerfs because, you know, initial feedback on that is a lot of players found it really cheesy in specific circumstances. So, you know, the big one in Tower, they made it easier for a player to get pushed back by an enemy attack when they're on the tower. I don't know how they like work on that specifically, that you receive more knockback on the tower as Kraken, but it's a lot less cheesy, you know, for getting checkpoints or just like GGing in the end game, so that's a good quality of life, I suppose. And they also made it so when you pop Kraken, you drop all of your clams. You can still do jump and shenanigans, but I mean, I understand where they're coming from with this, and I think it's like a good change, as it does feel kind of random sometimes whether or not you pick up, or rather if you drop clamps with certain specials. Sub-resistance is a big one, specifically for burst and fizzy. In lower amounts of sub-resist, it'll affect their damage. We need to see raw numbers to fully understand the implications of this, but if you can run like 2 subs, let's say, and ruin some of the combos, that's actually really significant, and might weaken burst and fizzy spam a bit. You know, those have been the predominant subs in this game, so, you know. I'm not a big of like gear reliance as an answer to things that are a bit, you know, strong, but I mean, both of these have received, you know, nerfs, again, burst bomb this patch, so I mean, we'll see with this. It's just more options to deal with it is better than not, even if it is gear dependence, I suppose. Opening Gambit got a buff. Basically, the way it worked before is when you start the game, you have like 30 seconds, I believe, and if you get a kill or assist, it extends it for 7.5 seconds. They doubled the duration of that, which is crazy. And they also added Intensify action. 3 mains of it. Kind of like how you get 3 mains of Run, Swim, and Ingress, I believe, if I'm not mistaken on that. This is really cool. I feel like this is going to be like a solo queue ability, to be honest. Like on a map like Mahi TC that's extremely kill-oriented, I could totally see like a range blaster running like opening Gambit plus QR, and they just chain kills repeatedly to maintain the Intensify gear that they want without actually investing into it. So this is really interesting. I'll honestly mess around with this in solo queue on Range Blaster specifically, for sure. I think it's a fun change. And really funny, I don't think I'll see a ton of it in comp right now. Like, this feels like the solo queue ability, but, you know, it's fun. So I like that a lot, actually. And special point adjustments, they made Kraken 220. Or 210, sorry. It's like 2 a.m., sorry. On 96. and they made Carbon 190 Zuka, Carbon Deco specifically, which I think is fair because the Burst Bomb nerf is actually kind of hurting it a lot. You know, they added like other bug fixes, but I won't really go into detail on that. I think the notable one I saw earlier was a crab tank. Yeah, fixed an issue that allowed crab tank users who held down ZR before changing from mobile to attack to start firing rapid firing slightly faster than usual. It basically meant if you balled and you like buffered, like you were like holding down the shoot button when you went out of the ball mode, like you would like go into fast turret mode like way faster, and that was an exploit. I feel like I've noticed that, but I didn't really like, you know, actually like put two and two together and think it was a bug. I thought it was just like, oh, like I'm not respecting the crab, but apparently that was a bug, so that's also a crab nerf, which is good. But yeah, I'll have the patch notes in the description if you want to read. Overall, I like the changes. I think the bucket one is really notable. I think dually could be cool in the future. I think maybe Nova in the future, assuming you get a really good second kit. Burst Bomb will have to be seen what exactly happens with that. I still expect Splash to be a top tier, just like a lot less egregious than it was because of changes like this in the bug fix. I think Wiper is a big winner here from like a minor stamp buff. I'm a little bit worried about Stamper because of this, honestly. A little bit worried. I think it'll still be strong, but I think it might be weaker. This is nice for Trinuvo with cool. This one's cool for stuff like Tetra. I think this is really funny with Undercover. I made a tweet about that because the Undercover has Ink Mine, which does 35 damage minimum, so it'll actually combo with the Sour Spot now. Undercover's still going to be like cripplingly, that's a word, maybe, I think, weak, but it's funnier, and that's what matters, so I'm going to be streaming that a lot if you're interested in that. This could be cool. Again, I think like Fire Rapid for this for sure. But yeah, I don't want to like get too into detail. This video is already like 17 minutes long. Let me know what you thought. Let me know your favorite changes, you know, stuff you wanted to say that maybe not be here. All that fun stuff. I'm gonna stop talking because it's like 2 a.m. and I really need to get to bed at some point. But yeah, it's been Keen. Subscribe if you like and you want to see more videos like this. I'd appreciate it. It always encourages me to make more videos because it's been a minute since I've uploaded. And yeah, I hope you have a good day because I'm gonna upload this by the morning tomorrow. And yeah, I'll see you next time.